What's going on, guys? This is Double Pulse, and today we're going to be checking out Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition for the Steam Deck. Now, I have been specifically wanting to test this game because this game is considered unsupported by Steam. And usually, anybody who is familiar, unsupported means that some or all of this game currently doesn't function on the Steam Deck. Valve is still working on adding support for this game. Now, here's the interesting thing about unsupported titles on the Steam Deck. The unsupported titles, actually, a lot of them end up working. And I see a lot of reviews that come up and say, like, oh, you know, you shouldn't buy supported titles because of, you know, the fact you don't know if they're going to work. Kind of downplaying the possibilities of what can be done on the Steam Deck. Now, obviously, not all unsupported titles will work, but a lot of the unsupported titles that I personally ran across work relatively just fine. Now, I want to get into this, kind of like showing you guys the performance, showing you guys the frame rate, as well as, you know, just the overall gameplay, and what you can probably do to try and extend battery life. So I have already recently started to save. I've been testing things out with this game before my recording, and I have two saves. I have the main story, and I have the Year of the Snake. Let's go right into the autosave that I have for my from a main story one, and then after that, maybe I'll show you some of the DLC that I've got, you know, saved up.
Still getting used to
So,
back, huh?
Sleeping Dogs is definitely one of those older titles that I feel you can get pretty good frame rates off of this game, as well as decent battery life. I am actually going to have a bit of a treat for you guys at the very end, because if you own the original Sleeping Dogs, what if I told you that you can double the battery life than what you're currently getting at with the Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition? But most people, you're going to probably have the Definitive Edition, and the old version of Sleeping Dogs, unfortunately, is not supported or available in the store anymore, so you're kind of forced to buy the Definitive Edition of this game, which isn't really anything bad. With the Definitive Edition, you get all the DLC anyway, so the original version, you had to buy all the DLC pretty much separate. But this game is one of those titles that you're definitely not going to have any issue getting 60 FPS. I do think when you install it for the first time, there might be a hiccup or two where it will crash, and maybe that's why it's not considered unsupported, is because the install process might be a little bit different. But if you are running this game on GE Proton, which is sort of a modified version of Proton, GE Proton 8-3, I think you can even run it on Proton 8 without it. You're gonna get this working. Basically, fun thing about this game is this game was originally known as True Crime Hong Kong before Square Enix bought the rights and changed it to Sleeping Dogs. As to why this game never got a sequel is beyond me, because this is a phenomenal game, and I feel like Square Enix, just for some odd reason, was not a what's the word I'm looking for? I don't say appreciative of the sales, but they didn't get the amount of money I imagine they probably thought they would. Which is kind of a bit, you know, unfortunate. That's what it comes down to. Because when you change the name to an already existing franchise to something completely new, you know, not only does it give it fresh air with a completely new name and a fresh coat of paint, But at the same time, I think people are just like thinking, well, you're kind of taking a gamble on it. You're taking a risk. I want to grapple these guys. You can grapple this guy on the desk. You can take out Dog Eyes thugs right here. Boom. Yep. I forgot. I think you have to get them all down before you take the last guy and shove him into the desk. Or, I don't know. I forgot how you do it. There was usually a way that you can, like, basically slam that guy into there. I think this is it. Yeah, that's what you do. Okay, cool. I kept trying to do that a lot earlier. I don't know why.
That looked nasty. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So as you see, at 60 FPS, we're getting about a 14 watt average, which gives you about 3 hours of battery life, which isn't bad. I mean, there's a lot of games out there that still push the battery life to like 20 hertz. I mean, 20 watts. I don't want to say 20 hertz. 20 to 25 watts. And I mean, and that might be something that is variable based off of when you get into the open world. Like, it can affect the difference quite a bit. But,
Come on, dude. Don't go easy on him. How about that? What do you guys think? Sucks, right? That all you got?
boom. All right. Survive the hazing.
You gonna back down?
Sort of like to prove you are with the gang. Make sure. I don't think I'm going to be able to prove myself. I think I'm getting my ass kicked right now. I'm not, like, countering him in time.
Why don't you get out of here? Huh? You like that? How about that?
All right. There we go.
Hey,
there he is.
we were just leaving.
The thing weird about the definitive edition, in my opinion, I just don't quite get how much improvements they made. I feel like the definitive edition really didn't change a whole lot, except add more reflections, more dynamic lighting to it. Because the original game, I was playing the original and checking it out recently, and it still looks really good. For a game that came out, I believe, in 2012? We're going to skip the cutscene. So as you get into the more open world, that is where you're going to see the biggest, the biggest change in the battery life. Being like 21 to 20 watts, which is kind of a problem, especially in these bigger settings where more things going on, and it changes quite a bit. So it's not even like a consistent. The number will go from like 18 to 20, but compared to the 15 that you get, it's pretty different. Anyway, while we get into that, let's take a look at some of the settings really quickly. Because I know some of you guys are probably wondering, what are the settings like in this game? If you are running the settings on this game, you are going to go into display. I'm running this game at 1280 by 800. I think, honestly, I like games like this where you can optimize and utilize the full resolution without having to downscale it. I think clarity when it comes to games like this is a huge plus side. The graphics are one of those things I feel like really is kind of just, you know, it really is just the, you know, icing on the cake. I really prefer resolution over graphics. But graphics options here are set to medium. You know, looking at this, you can definitely play around with some of these settings and change the shadow resolution. And honestly, I think even with like the normal version, if you're looking for, if you're really looking to bring down the settings that are very similar to the original experience, you'll probably see some changes in the way that the game performs. So I have everything set to normal for now. Let's go back. Let's save changes. Let's see if that does anything to improve the actual performance or anything. So as you see, by just reducing some of those, you know, shadow qualities and turning it back to, say, the original quality of the game, the wattage does go down a little bit, which I think is definitely helpful. Then again, it all varies based off of the type of experience they're looking for. The game, it might not look as great as it does in person, but on camera, because I know on camera it might look a little fuzzy depending on, you know, my because of how I'm recording this. And I may end up doing a second recording at the end just to show it, but it's also probably I have FSR on, which I could probably turn that off. So the other thing I wanted to say, TDP limit with a lot of these games really doesn't do much. I really wouldn't play around with TDP because I think it really does have some issues where it doesn't optimize. I don't know. I feel like TDP limit is bugged in a sense because there's no way for the TDP limit to be capping the power usage at such a low, you know, at what it's at. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. But if I turn around and I decided to go to refresh rate of 40, which is I think where the real treat comes in on this title, you can turn around and get more of a, you know, a battery life and lower the wattage a little bit. Collect the money owed.
Hey, little brother. You work for Winston.
I understand. How can I help?
Winston runs this place, and if you don't want trouble, you pay him. Period.
Of course. No problem. Need anything? Just come ask.
But basically,
You know, this is going to piss Dog Eyes off. At some point, Winston and Dog Eyes are going to clash, man. It's going to be epic. Winston versus Dog Eyes.
but yeah, basically to kind of sum it up here, Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. If you wanted to play this and not have to worry about it crashing on you, or you were not sure, you can definitely pick this up and play this and get pretty good performance as well as, you know, decent amount of battery life. You're definitely going to get about over 2 hours with this game if you play around with the settings and you're not demanding too much out of it. You can even turn this up to Ultra if you want to try to, you know, keep the 30 FPS, but I don't really see a point in doing that. I think this game still looks really good on medium settings, and when you have a game that's being played at such a small screen like this, I don't see the justification in wanting to improve the graphics for the sake of the actual resolution. Now, with newer games, that's unfortunately going to be a thing where you are going to have to do more resolution tuning, and you might even have to turn on AMD FSR, but because this is an old game, you don't have to actually worry about that, which is amazing.
This guy's with dog eyes.
You work for Winston. We need to discuss business.
Winston? I don't have any business with Winston.
Everyone has business with Winston. You're gonna pay up, you understand?
Yeah, pay up now. Pay up now.
Hey, fellas! These troops are moving in on the territory. Kick his ass!
Boom. Destructive environments right there. Anyway, let's go ahead into the DLC really quickly. I have one DLC file that I'm very curious in showing. I want to see how it runs in terms of being on the street. And then after that, we're going to end the video. We will end the video after one thing too I will show. But for the most part, let's show this off real quickly. Let's see how this works. So yeah, if you're in interiors on this game, you're probably going to end up getting like, I don't know, about 9-10 watts. And then as you go into the open world, that wattage will increase on your battery life a little bit, as well as maybe the the other settings that you got to worry about. But I even turned off density and all this, and this is actually one of those. This is actually the DLC where you get back into a standard uniform, and it's just kind of wacky in my opinion. It's fun, don't get me wrong, and I enjoy it. I just think it's the most wackiest thing ever, especially because after you've completed the main story in this game, just the circumstances that you're put in is just kind of just like, what? By this point, everybody knows who Wei Shay, or people should know who Wen Shay is, right? This guy, and what he's done, that I just don't think he can, do anything. He's more than capable of, being just a street cop. I'll admit, I love the taser on here, though. That taser's satisfying. I don't know why. Being able to arrest people. How did he... Okay, I don't know what happened. There we go. Okay, so what we're here now with is the original Sleeping Dogs. As you guys can see, this is not the definitive edition. And the reason I wanted to show you guys this is just to show you guys the quick differences between some of the wattage usage on the battery compared to definitive edition, and just how it pans. So if you happen to have Sleeping Dogs for the PC and it was the original one and you have all the DLC, I would actually say you could probably install this one and get a little bit of extra battery life on your Steam Deck if you so choose. Now, like I said, most people probably don't have this version if they bought it late, but if you bought this like right when it came out, chances are you got this version. So that's just my only main my 2 cents on it. The other cool thing that I also realized too is so you can turn around, the FPS is obviously a bit about the same. You can also go to the settings, and chances are if you own both this version and the definitive edition and you go down to the advanced settings, you will see that you can enable high-res textures, which honestly, it looks pretty good, but on the small screen, you really don't notice like a drastic change. It just looks a lot more sharper. And for a 800 by just, a 1280 by 800 display, you're not going to get that much of a difference. This is probably better if you're going to put this to like a monitor or anything like that. So this is pretty much concludes my test going forward. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys did, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see next. I'm Double Pulse, and I am signing out, and goodbye.
거의 너무 뭔가 저는 저는 어떤 거 있고 1만 5천